All right, guys, so today we are going to be doing some 2-point perspective practice before we start using this on our final work of art, which is going to be your option for the art show this year. And we'll talk more about the art show a little later on. You'll find out some more information coming up soon. But what you're going to need is you need to have a piece of paper, something to draw with. I highly recommend a pencil. You guys will see me using a marker, but that's going to be for a specific reason on here. Plus, it helps the camera see what I'm drawing easier. And then you are going to want a ruler or a straight edge of some sort. If you don't have a ruler, that is fine. You guys are going to see I'm just going to use the edge of my notebook today to help me create a straight line. But you are going to want something that is the same length, or hopefully that can fit all the way across your piece of paper, because you're going to have to draw some lines that go all the way side to side on there. So for 2-point perspective, I need to start with my paper going vertical, because just like in that last picture, I'm going to be creating something that is above, on, and below my horizon line. So for me to be able to get started, I need to start by creating my horizon line. And remember, the horizon line is the line that separates the ground and the sky. So this lets us know, are we looking up at it? Are we looking down at it? Or are we looking straight out at it? So I'm going to take what I'm drawing with. I'm going to use my straight edge and try to get it about the center of my piece of paper. I'm going to draw a line going horizontal. I want to make sure it's not crooked or tilted at an angle. I need to make sure it's going straight across. I'm going to draw it there. If whatever you're using doesn't quite reach the edge of the paper, draw it across, then slide it over, line it back up, and continue your line out to the edge. So once I have my horizon line on my piece of paper, I am going to draw my 2 vanishing points. Remember, guys, at this point, you have this. Pause this at any time you need. If you need some time to catch up, just pause the video and then press play when you're ready to move on. So my vanishing points, this is those points in the distance where it looks like everything's getting smaller and smaller and smaller and just kind of disappearing into, just like last year in 4th grade when we created those names. We did our names in block letter, and then they all look like they kind of converged or disappeared into the distance. Because we know as things get further and further and further away from us, they start to appear smaller and smaller and smaller until eventually they vanish. Hence the name vanishing point. The point where it gets so small you can no longer see it. So I'm going to draw dot. I don't need it to be really big, but I need to make sure I know where it is on my line, as far out to the edge of your line as you can get. Then you're going to start drawing your boxes. So we are going to start with our box up here, up top, and that is going to be our worm's eye box, where we're looking up at it so we can see the sides, and we can also see the bottom of the box, because if something is up above your head, you're going to be able to see the bottom of it and not the top of that thing, because it is over your head, so you will not be able to see what's on the very tip top of it. So to do that, I'm going to take my straight edge again, your ruler, whatever you're using, and I am going to draw a vertical line above my horizon line. So it's going to be a vertical line here. It doesn't need to be too long, but I want it above. It can be over here, doesn't matter, but it needs to go above that horizon line, and you want to give it a decent amount of space. Don't get it too close to it for this first one, because that's just going to make it a little trickier. The next thing you're going to do is you're going to connect this vertical line, and this is kind of the edge of our box. You're going to connect this to, whoops, didn't mean to draw it. That's a good reason to use pencil. Connect this to your vanishing point, the top and bottom, and this is going to help to create the 2 sides of our box. So I'm actually going to see, and this is why you guys will see I'm using some colors today so you guys can tell these lines. I am going to use the red to do this. Once again, you guys are using a pencil. You don't need to do this out in color, but I'm going to use my straight edge, and it's really, really important, guys, that these lines are straight. You're going to see here, I'm going to go from the bottom of my line here to my vanishing point. So I'm going to line it up. I'm going to really take my time to make sure my straight edge is lined up neatly. I'm going to hold it tight so when I press on it, it's not going to start moving. My straight edge, my ruler, whatever I'm using there, and I'm going to draw a line that connects those two together. So now I have a line from the bottom to my vanishing point, and I'm going to repeat that step and go from the top to my vanishing point to create the one side of my box. So when I'm done, I'm going to kind of have this long triangle connected to my vanishing point, and now I'm going to repeat that same step to my other vanishing point. Now, if this first vertical line you drew was way over here and closer to this vanishing point, your triangle will be smaller on this side than it was on this side. If you did it right in the middle, the triangle should be about the same size. So I'm going to repeat that step. Awesome. So now what it's going to look like I have, so I kind of have this big skinny almost like triangle or arrow pointing up. So this is the two sides, but this would be like if the sides of my box went on forever and ever and ever and ever. And I want to give them a stopping point where they end. So what I'm going to do here is I am going to draw the sides of my box. And to do that, where they end, I'm going to draw two more vertical lines. So this side, I have to decide how long I want it to be. I am going to place my straight edge, my ruler, whatever I'm using, right on that first vertical line, and I'm just going to slide it. And I'm going to slide it straight out until I get to how big I want that box to be. And then I'm going to draw a vertical line right in between those lines, which these lines, guys, they have a really special name for them. They're called orthogonal lines. Not a word you're going to hear me use a lot, but those would be our orthogonal lines. So a straight vertical line. Now I don't want it to be off to a slant. I don't want it to be at an angle. I want it to make sure it goes straight up and down in between my two orthogonal lines. Then I'm going to take my straight edge. I'm going to come to this side. I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to drag it out. And when it's the size I want it to be, I'm going to draw a vertical line right there. Now these are my two sides of my box. But remember, if we're looking up at my box, then I should still be able to also see the bottom of it. And right now, the bottom of my box does not exist. So what I need to do, connect it to my vanishing points. So the bottom of my box, I'm only going to connect the bottom part of the line, unlike here where we did the top and bottom, and I'm going to connect it to both sides of the both vanishing points. So this side, the bottom is already connected to this vanishing point. So I only need to connect it to the other side. So now I can take this here. I'm going to draw my line, connect it to my vanishing point, and I'm going to repeat that. This side, the bottom of this vertical line to get the bottom of the box, it's already connected to that vanishing point, so I only need to connect it to this other side. I'm going to line it up there. Really take your time to make sure things are lined up the way you want it. And then connect. Don't try and rush through this. Now, what I have is my bird's eye perspective box. So you guys can see, and I'm going to outline it in the blue. I have my front corner, my side corners, the top of my box, and the bottom. Ooh. That's why we use our straight lines. So now I have my whole box there. Now at this point, what I would actually want to do is I want to take my eraser and I would erase all of these red lines here. I need to leave that horizon line, that straight line across, but I would erase all of these red lines so that I just have this floating box. And that's what you guys see. I use two different colors so you guys would see the difference. between the lines I need to leave, which are all my blue lines, and the lines I would get rid of, which are my red lines there. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to draw my street view box. This is going to be the same, except because we're looking straight at it, we don't see the top or the bottom. So a street view box is going to start with a vertical line, just like our others did, but this time it's going to cross our horizon line. Then I'm going to go in and I'm going to draw those orthogonal lines. So those are the lines that lead to my vanishing point. So I do it from the top or the bottom and the top. And then I'm going to repeat that to my other vanishing point. All right, now this time we need to do, once again, same step where we have to decide where the sides of our box are going to be. So I'm going to take my straight edge, I'm going to line it up with that center line right there, and I'm going to drag it out till I've made that box the size I want it to be. And I'm going to draw a vertical line in between my two orthogonal lines. Oops, didn't quite go all the way to the bottom. Touch there, and then repeating again. Take my center line, drag it out, draw a vertical line. And now remember, guys, each side of your box, it doesn't have to be the same size. Now the different part on this one that actually makes it a little simpler to do our street view box is that because I'm looking straight at it, I only see the two sides of my box. I'm not going to see a bottom to it, and I'm not going to see a top to it. Here or here, I only see those two flat sides. So at this point, I'm done, and I am just going to keep what the main box is and erase my orthogonal lines. So I'm keeping the main box here where I'm outlining. Remember, you guys don't have to extra outline this, but that would be my box. And then all of these red lines can get erased, and you can't even, unless your box is like clear or see-through, you can erase the horizon line just where it goes behind the box. You would still leave it on the other sides. All right, and my last one is my bird's eye view. So like I'm flying through the sky and I'm looking down on something. So unlike this one where I could see the two sides and the bottom because I'm looking up at it, if I'm looking down at something, I'm going to be able to see the top of that box. So this one, you can do it, once again, straight in a line, or you can have it off to one side if you want to, completely your choice. So my vertical line to start with, always vertical, always straight up and down. We don't want it slanted or at an angle. Then I am connecting it to those vanishing points with my orthogonal lines. Remember, guys, this is a practice. So if you've got some that get a little messed up or that you need to flip it over, you need to start it again, maybe you want to try a couple, that's fine. This is practice. This is our time to get comfortable drawing this, because next week you will be taking one type of these boxes, and you are going to start creating a final element. So just like before, the bottom and the top of the line, I want both connected to each one of our vanishing points. Then I'm going to draw the size of that box. I'm going to line up here. I'm going to slide my straight edge out till I have the side where I want it to be. Draw a vertical line. Do not want it slanted or tilted or going at a different angle. It needs to be straight up and down. If you're not sure if it's straight up and down, lay your pencil or your ruler down on top of it and see. Does it go straight up and down, or does it slant or point off to a side? All right, so now I have my two sides, and I'm just missing the top of my box on this one. Gonna go from the top of this line Remember, because it's already connected to this vanishing point, so now I need to connect it to that vanishing point, to the opposite side, because it needs to connect to both points. And now I have my box. I have the top of my box. And right now, guys, the only reason I'm not using my straight edge is because I've already drawn it with a straight edge, so I'm just tracing over the top of that line. I have my sides, or my edges to the box, and then the bottom edge of my box. And I can erase all of those orthogonal lines, get rid of those, and I have a bird's eye view. Ooh, that should be a V, not a W. Well, I'll scratch that. Luckily, it's a sketch. But I have my bird's eye view. I have my street view. And I have my worm's eye view. So that's what I want you guys doing. You are creating 3 boxes today. I want you to practice your worm's eye view, your street view, and your bird's eye view today. Do a practice of each one of those, and then we are going to be using these techniques to create a big version of that box that is going to really become something else next week. Bye guys, have fun.